Hello, so today we are here to talk about a language learning app or website and podcast and assorted features called jiveworld. This is an app or a website that kind of uses the podcast Radio Ambulante from NPR, which is a Spanish language podcast that centers around stories from Latin America. And this app uses that as kind of the vehicle for learning. So if you are not new to my channel or my Instagram, then you are probably aware that I am trying to listen to all of the episodes of Radio Ambulante, and so I talk about it sort of an obnoxious amount recently, but I also wanted to give this app a try just to see what it is like, whether I think that it is worth it over just listening to the podcast. So we will start with looking at the podcast in general. So the website is radioambulante.org, and this is kind of an amazing service in that they do have full transcripts for all of their episodes in both English and Spanish. So you already can listen and read along, and you can compare with the English transcript if you need clarification of any points. So even on its own, in the totally free open version, Radio Ambulante is an incredible resource. But, it is a podcast for native speakers that talks about many extremely complex topics, including, immigration. There are, obviously ones not quite so heavy, not, talking about geopolitical issues, but nonetheless, it is quite a difficult podcast in my opinion. So, there may be things that even with a transcript and a translation, I often am still not getting the full picture. And that's just something that I generally tend to just accept as part of language learning, but they have provided a potential solution to that. So, apparently this app used to be called Lupa, which is the Spanish word for magnifying glass, and I really wish that they had kept that name. I'm not gonna lie, I do not find this a super appropriate name for the app. This is just my opinion as, an ignorant white American, but I really only hear jive as a word from African American English, particularly in the context of language. To me, this feels appropriative, but again, I'm not a member of that community. I can't say whether that is or is not, but I was very confused as to why they would have selected this word. But, regardless, we will carry on. So I have paid for a month of this, so this is what you see as a subscriber. The view is very similar if you are not a subscriber, but most of the content will be locked. The things that you can get for free from this app are a daily soundbite and a couple of the longer stories are unlocked, I think, too, from what I can tell. The soundbites are a daily super short soundbite, and if you are not a subscriber, the only one that you can watch is today's. So if you want to, keep up with a story, you will have to visit the app every single day. You can't catch up later, but I do think that these are great. And honestly, even if I don't say subscribed, I will probably keep the app just for these because I think they are great. They do little context notes that are very informative. It introduces an expression or something that you're going to see in the story. Then you read this, again, very short section, less than a minute or two, from what I can tell they are, and then it will, kind of give you additional insights once you've finished it. So this whole thing takes maybe 2 minutes to do every single day. And I really like these. Again, I think I will keep doing them, and to be honest, I think they are my favorite part of the app. I will have screen recordings on the screen as well to show what it looks like on your phone, because obviously most people probably will be doing these on their phone. Other than the sound bites, the main thing in the app is the stories. So these are, if they're not the short ones, if they are full stories, then these are full podcast episodes from what I can tell. But like, as you can see, if you visit on radioambulante.org, it is a 36-minute long episode, and the, chapters and everything add up to 34 minutes. So it does seem to be the full episode, maybe with a tiny bit of editing. But what you'll see here is that this one is 11 chapters. So each of the chapters is about 3 minutes long. And so we will just start this one. So it starts out with some notes, context that might be important, or word choice quirks of the particular episode. And then you can actually start.
Antes de comenzar el episodio de hoy, una advertencia. En este episodio se menciona sexo.
This has an interface that reads the text to you, highlighting as you go along and, scrolling through. If you watch the videos that introduce the app, that are all narrated by the very well-known Elise de Vega, who works for this app, they have what I think is a very cool system where these little orange dots indicate basically like a pause or a natural break. So as you can see, when I pressed pause in the middle of that sentence, it waited until it reached a natural stopping point to actually pause. I think you can override that by clicking twice, but I think it's a nice feature. And when you do pause here, you will see that like key vocabulary from that sentence is provided for you. And you can have it translate the full thing. This is a weird thing for me to have happened upon. So kind of the intended use of this app is to read through it once using that interface where you see all of the words. You can pause and you can read definitions, translate, do whatever you need to do, and then you listen to each chapter a second time, and the interface is kind of grayed out, and you still have the option to pause, to go back and restudy a portion of it, but otherwise you're not going to be seeing the text, you are just going to be listening. So it's definitely a more detailed kind of study of the episode than you would get just listening to it, or even listening and reading along and maybe translating some words. It does also track stats for you, daily streaks, how long you've spent, stuff like that, which is a nice feature if you find that sort of thing motivating, which, I kind of do. It's not 100% necessary, but it's fun. So that is the basics of the app. So on to basically my personal opinion about it, and bear in mind that I am not an expert in absolutely any way. I am just a language learner who, likes to give my experience about things. I think if the Radio Ambulante podcast has been overwhelming for you or feels too difficult for you, if you don't mind stopping and starting, if you don't find looking things up in the middle to disrupt your flow of reading very much, if you like re-listening to things right afterwards to get more out of them, then I think that this is ideal. Like, I love the notes that they provide for the context, colloquialisms, or local phrasings. I think that all of that is absolutely incredible. There's other details in how they construct the lessons that are, described in the videos that introduce the course, that demonstrate even more the amount of thought that they're putting into converting these podcast episodes into something for learners specifically. So I think that that is great. And compared to other reading apps targeted at intermediates, if you are learning Spanish specifically, this is way better, in my opinion, than anything else that I have tested on the market. So for me, I absolutely love Radio Ambulante. I'm not saying I endorse anything and everything that they ever do, but I have been greatly enjoying using the podcast. And so basically for me, the decision was whether I would pay for a subscription for something like this or just support Radio Ambulante directly through like a recurring donation or, periodic donations. I don't find it frustrating at all to just listen to the podcast on their own, or even more so to listen and read along. I just find that I don't have the desire to sit down and do these lessons nearly as much as I have the desire to just listen to the podcasts. So for me, it is truly just the fact that I love the podcasts so much, and I would rather just support the podcasts specifically. I don't have a code or anything. This is absolutely not affiliated in any way. I just think that it is a cool idea and a really great way of engaging directly with culture while learning. If you have any recommendations for other podcasts, other apps, Radio Ambulante episodes that you like best, definitely let me know in the comments, and I will see you in my next video.